you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Nun Gimel, Daf 53 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends. Yo, friends, today we're talking about Meiser Sheni that's less than a Shava Pruta. Gets a little technical. Alright. Here we go. We're going to start Daf Nun Beis, Amud Beis, about 15 lines or so from the bottom at the two dots. The sun's coming in. Alright, hopefully it won't be too much. What time is Shkia? Shkia? We have some time till Shkia. Alright. Hopefully it won't be a nuisance. Alright. So it says the Gemara on Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis at the two dots, like 15 or so lines before the end of the Daf. V'nosna l'maiser sheini. Okay, so he's talking about a coin that was like, worn out a shtickle and like it's lost part of its value. So we're saying that you can use it for, right? So we said a 24th, a 12th, a 6th. So if it hits this point, so you can use it for maiser sheini. Ve'enu choshesh, and it's okay. Don't worry about it. She'enu ela nefesh ra. Because somebody who doesn't accept these coins is just, I guess, a little like shmendrik. He's a little shmendrik in his soul. Amar Papa says, Papa Shmamina, Ayman de Mukim Azuze Mikre Nefesh Ra. So we see that somebody, what does Rashi say? Rashi says, de Mukim Azuze, Maimir Atzmo Milikablom Kishamotze Boim Pigam. That when he finds a coin, that there's something funny about it, he doesn't accept it. Every so often you get like, some money and you're like, ooh, this is not perfect. Like, it's like totally like up in the air. It's like you're going to spend it and you just got to hope that the person isn't going to be annoying about it. That kind of a thing. So somebody who's like, doesn't want to accept, I don't know, you have $1 and the person before you like wrote on it or something like that. Whatever it might be. Maybe it's got a little bit of a tear in it and you're like, oh dang, I hope that whoever I give it to accepts it. So if somebody doesn't accept it in such a situation like this, or I guess in here we're talking about a coin that's a little bit rubbed out, so he has a little bit of shmendrik in his soul. Okay, so Amr Papa Shmamina Ayman Demukim Azuze, somebody who doesn't accept these coins, Mikre Nefesh Ra, he's called a person with the shmendrik in his soul. Who the sagi lehu, but that's if I think that means if the coin is like still in circulation, people could still spend it and stuff like that, and this guy is just displaying a bit of shmendrikness. So this supports Chizkiah. Chizkiah says Chizkiah baleforta porta b'shivya. That, meaning that, so when we say, it says Rashi, right? Then when we say that you can use this coin for Meiser Sheni, this coin that's been rubbed out a bit, so you can use it for Meiser Sheni, it's like Chizkiah, who says, Balaforta, Porta be Shivya, that if you are, getting change for this coin, so then you should, so then you get, so then you have to you can only get change for it at its current value, right? You can't get more coins for it. If you're like breaking it up into smaller denominations, you can't get more than it's worth. But if you're going to use it to be Mechalal Meiser Sheni, well then Mechalal B'Yofeh, well in that case, you can treat it as if it's at its full value, right? So if you have Meiser Sheni and you want to, I think the sun might be getting blocked. That is awesome. So if you have some Meiser Sheni and you want to be Mechalet and you have like a coin and it's a 5 shekel coin or something like that, even though it's rubbed out, you could still treat it as if it's a 5 shekel coin, and you can get the full 5 shekel value when you're being Mechalel Meiser Sheni. My Kamer, what is it saying? Kamer, this is what it's saying. Afal pi kishabah leforta porta b'shivya. That even though if you're coming to get break down this coin into smaller denominations, you would only be able to get its actual current value, its diminished current value. But nonetheless, when you use this money to be mechal ma'aser sheni, mechal b'yofa, you can treat it like as if it was the sun is back. What happened to being gone? I guess it didn't like being gone. Mechala biyafa. So then you can, when you mechala ma'aser sheni, you can treat it as if it's at its full value. Lemeimra desaver Chizkiya de mezalzelinun b'ma'aser sheni. But does that mean that Chizkiya holds that we can be mezalzel ma'aser sheni? That when it comes to ma'aser sheni, we can like kind of, we're like not taking it so seriously, right? Keilu. We're treating, let's say, a 5 shekel coin like it's 5 shekels, even though it's been worn down and it's no longer worth 5 shekels. But it's like, nah, it's okay. We could treat it as if it's the full value. Like, but ve'omer Chizkiya, but doesn't Chizkiya say, Ma'aser sheni she'ein bo shaveh pruta, that if you have Ma'aser sheni that is less than a shaveh pruta, so you have Ma'aser sheni that's less than a shaveh pruta, and you want to be mechalel this Ma'aser sheni onto money, but it's less than a shaveh pruta. So how can you be mechalel Ma'aser sheni that's less than a shaveh pruta? Well, where am I? So Omer Chizkiya Ma'aser sheni she'ein bo shaveh pruta. Omer, what he does is he says, Hu v'chomsho michulol al ma'os harishonos. So you say, excuse me, Babylon, dag nabbit. Hu v'chomsho michulol al ma'os harishonos. So we say that this half a pruta, right? That's what we said, right? Well, less than a pruta. Shein bo shaveh pruta is less than a pruta. So now, when you're a mechalo ma'aser sheni, as we know, you have to add a fifth. Tomorrow's Gemara is going to discuss exactly how we calculate this fifth. But anyways, you have to add a chomesh when you're mechalo ma'aser sheni. So now this ma'aser sheni that was less than a shaveh pruta. So how are you going to be mechalo ma'aser sheni that's less than a shaveh pruta? So what you say is, so Omer hu v'chomshu mechul amos harishonos. So it and another chomesh, another 20% added to, another fifth added to it, are mechulol on earlier ma'aser sheni that you separated. Meaning, if you had already separated more ma'aser sheni, more than a shaveh pruta's worth of ma'aser sheni earlier, and you had kind of like, because you don't know exactly, you want to kind of be safe and make sure that you are over mechalaling as opposed to under mechalaling. So you want to kind of like, if you have, I don't know, $75 worth of produce, maybe you would be mechalal on $100, just to be sure that you kind of like, are overcutting it and not, well, meaning if you had to choose between overcutting and undercutting, you would prefer to kind of overcut rather than like undercut and kind of take it, cut short the ma'aser sheni, give less to ma'aser sheni. So therefore, since the tendency is to kind of over podeh, so therefore this less than a shaveh pruta that you have, you say, okay, fine, look, so this less than a shaveh pruta plus another fifth, we're just going to kind of throw in with the other money that was, with the other ma'aser sheni that was mechulal on that other money. Because since it's impossible to know exactly to the dime the value of the ma'aser sheni, so therefore you kind of like over podeh a little bit, and now if you find that you have less than a pruta of ma'aser sheni, so you just say, okay, it and its chomesh, we're just gonna throw it in with the other ma'aser sheni that you had already been mechalal. Okay, where am I? No. So on the one hand, over here we're saying in this brisa that like when it comes to ma'aser sheni, you like overpay, and yet apparently Chizkiya said that you can use this coin that's been kind of rubbed out a bit for ma'aser sheni at its full value, i.e., you're going to be underpaying. So my be yafe b'toras yafe. No. So rather, when it says yafe, it means that you're going to use it. Kama shehi yafe achshav, essentially, right? What it's worth right now. What is actually b'toras yafe? Kefidam v'adoyin shelo kach. Where am I? Yeah, okay. It's the Okay. Okay, it didn't say what I was saying, but anyways, but it means that no, you're only going to be mechal at its current value, but not at its initial value. The trei zile lo mezalzelin bay, because we're not going to kind of like do two not awesome things with it. Meaning, it's one thing that we're even using a coin to be Mechal Meiser Sheni that has been kind of rubbed out, and then to say not only are we using this rubbed out coin, but we're also going to value it at its current value. We're also going to value it at its original value, not its current lower value. That's kind of like two negative things that we're doing, right? Using a rubbed out coin and overvaluing it. We're not going to do both of those. So rather, sure, if you want to use a rubbed out coin, that's fine, but you're going to have to use it at its kind of current value, not at its original value. Okay, Gufit. We said earlier, Amar Chizkiah said, Chizkiah, Meiser Sheni she'ein bo shave pruta, that if you have, where am I? So if you have Meiser Sheni that is less than a shave pruta, Amar hu v'chom sho mechulol almos arishonos, you said that it and its chomish, we're going to throw it in with the earlier Meiser Sheni that we had separated. Because it's impossible to kind of, get the value of the Meiser Sheni exact, so you kind of like overpay for that. You overpowed down the Meiser Sheni, you can throw in this less than a Shavaputa there. Fine. Meisvei, we have a kasha. We have a kasha, right? So meaning the point is that Chizkiah had said that it's possible to be poded less than a Shavaputa's worth of Meiser Sheni. Chizkiah says that it's possible to be poded less than a Shavaputa of Meiser Sheni. We're going to try to we're going to be making arguments to say that no, you cannot be poded less than a Shavaputa's worth of Meiser Sheni. So we have a question, a contradiction. Atrume ve'abikurim ho, that trume and bikurim, which is compared to trume, right, as it says, utrumas yodecha, I think, ela bikurim. Okay, so when it comes to trume and bikurim, chayovin alein miso ho, if you eat truma, a zar who eats truma or bikurim on purpose, misa bidei shamayim, better watch out, people. V'chomesh, and if you eat it by accident, so then you have to pay it back plus a chomesh, plus a fifth. V'asurim l'zorim, neither of them can be eaten for non-kriyanim. Ve'nichse koin, and they belong to the koin, right? Meaning a koin could be mekadesh a woman, for example, with truma or bikurim. Ve'olim be'echad v'meyo, and to be botel, they're not botel berov, they have to be botel with 100 parts chulin to 1 part truma or bikurim. V'tu'unin v'chitzas yodayim, and because there's a midrabanan, your hands are shnios letuma, so therefore you have to do netilas yodayim before you eat truma or bikurim, because you can make it, to make sure you're not going to make it a shlishi. V'harav shemesh, and if you're tamei and you have to go to the mikvah, right? So for example, I don't know, you were a mitzorah or something, and you're a kohen and you want to eat truma, and on the end of your mitzorah days, you went to the mikveh, and then you're a tvul yom. So while Meiser Sheni you could eat immediately after go to the mikveh, but you won't be able to eat truma or bikurim until harav shemesh, until the evening. Hare elu betruma vikurim masha'en kein b'meiser. All these things were said davka about truma and bikurim, but not by meiser sheni. My masha'en kein b'meiser. So what does it mean that this is not the case by meiser? Lav michlal de meiser batil beruba ho bararara. Does this not mean that we said that truma and bikurim, to be mavatal them, or if they get mixed up in a mixture, you're going to have 100 parts chulin to 1 part truma. Now we're saying, and this is not, however, the case by Meiser Sheni. So then, what is the case by Meiser Sheni? Well, mistama Meiser Sheni that gets mixed, gets into mixture, it'll be batal berov. It'll be batal berov. If you have a majority of chulin and a minority of Meiser Sheni, so the Meiser Sheni will be batal berov. Now Rashi points out that this has to be talking about Meiser Sheni that is less than a Shava Pruta and is also Tomei. Because, well, let's go weiter for a second. Mashayim Meiser. So my Mashayim Meiser, I'm reading that again. Lab L'chal de Meiser Batal Beruba. Is it not that Meiser Sheni is Batal Berov? The Im Isa the Chizkiah, and if what Chizkiah is saying is correct, that you can be Michalel Meiser Sheni that's less than a Shava Pruta, Havale Dover sheyesh lo matirin v'chol Dover sheyesh lo matirin afilu be'elef lo batil. Remember this sugya? Dover sheyesh lo matirin afilu be'elef lo batil. Sech the beya. The thing is, when it comes to being mevatel something, right, for something to be considered to be able to be batel barov, it has to be something she'ein lo matirin, something that is unable to become permitted. If it can become permitted, then there's no permission to say, oh, it's batel. Meaning, if you have some meiser sheni that gets mixed up with a bunch of chulin, so you can't say that it's okay, you can just eat all of it outside of Yerushalayim because it's batel barov. No, the thing is that meiser sheni can be eaten in Yerushalayim. So you can't say, if it's in Tel Aviv and you have some meiser sheni that gets mixed up together with chulin, you can't say, it's alright, it's batel barov. No, because since you can eat the meiser sheni, albeit not in Tel Aviv, but you'd have to go to Yerushalayim to eat it, but you can eat it, so davar sheyesh to matirin, it's mutter so long as you go to Yerushalayim. So afilu be'elef lo batul. It's never going to be batul. So therefore, what's the scenario in which meiser sheni would be batul barov? Right, that's what we're saying. Right, we're saying that truma is batul 100 parts chulin to 1 part truma. We're saying masha ein kain by meiser sheni because meiser sheni is batul barov. What's the scenario? In what case would meiser sheni be batul barov? Because we're saying meiser sheni, you can eat it, you just have to bring it to Yerushalayim, so it should never be batul. So what would be the scenario where we can't say that? Where we can't say, well, just bring it to Yerushalayim and eat it there? Well, if it's truma tameya, right? So if it's meiser sheni that's tameya, so since it's tameya, you're not going to eat it in Yerushalayim because it's tameya. Now the thing is, if it's more than a shava pruta, so then we'll then just be podeid onto something else, and then that will have the kedushas meiser sheni. So like be podeid onto money, and then bring the money to Yerushalayim and spend in Yerushalayim, and then the tameya food is no longer meiser sheni, right? So what would be the scenario where we would have to say that the meiser sheni is batel because there's no way to salvage it? It would have to be if it's both tameya, because if it's tahora, we could say just bring it to Yerushalayim, and it would have to be less than a shava pruta, because then if it's less than a shava pruta, you can't be mechalal it. And that's why it's batel barov. So what's the scenario in which meiser sheni is batel barov? When it's tameya and it's less than a shava pruta. Because since it's tameya, you can't eat it in Yerushalayim. Since it's less than a shava pruta, you can't be podeh. Which is therefore a kasha on Chizkiah, who says that you can be podeh meiser sheni that's less than a shava pruta. And if you can be podeh meiser sheni then that's less than a shava pruta, so again, why is it batel barov? Just be podeh. Ho ho! Ha ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! It's gewaldig, right? It's a kasha. Gewaldig. Feels good to work through a kasha, right? Right. It's gewaldig. It's gewaldig. It's gewaldig. It's gewaldig. Okay. So where are we? Wow. Maybe let's start from 4 lines into the Gemara. Into Nagimah base. Amud Aleph. My Mashen Kippah Meiser. What does it mean that these examples by Truma are not so by Meiser Sheni? Lav Michal, is it not to imply the Meiser Batul Beruba, that by Meiser Sheni it'll be Batul Berov? Now, in the scenario where Meiser Sheni would be batul birov would be if it's less than a shava pruta and it's tmeya. V'im isa dechizkia. But if what Chizkiah is saying is correct, that if it is less than a shava pruta, you can be poda it, you can be mechalal it, well then havli davar sheyesh lo matirin. Well then it's something that you can be matir, be mechalal it. V'chol davar sheyesh lo matirin, afilu be'elef lo batil. And a davar sheyesh lo matirin is never going to be batil, since you could just be matir it, be mechalal it onto something else, and then you can have the whole mixture. Everything's mutter. But now the Gemara questions the premise, questions the assumption that when we say Masha Enkein b'maiser, it means that, well, while Truma is batul 100 parts to 1, Maiser Sheni is batul birov. Why are you assuming that that's the implication, that that's the inference, Davka, about batul birov? Masha Enkein b'maiser the batul biruba. Well, how do you know that when it says Masha Enkein b'maiser, it means that, well, Maiser Sheni is going to be batul birov as opposed to 100 parts 1 or something else? Dilma loy batil klal. Maybe what it means is that it's not batul at all. That maybe what it's saying is that Trume is batul 100 parts to 1. Meiser Sheni, however, is never going to be batul, because the only scenario where you would try to argue that it would be batul would be if it's tmeya and less than a shava pruta, but Chizki is saying that even that you can be podeh, and therefore to davar sheish lo matirin and afilu be'elef lo batil. So therefore, maybe what it's saying is that Masha Enkein b'maiser sheni, that meaning while Trume can be batil 100 parts to 1, Masha Enkein b'maiser sheni, that can never be batil. Ho ho. Lo motzis or my tochi nisht. No, you can't say this. The legabe trume chumre de trume katoni kule de trume lo katoni ho. Because by trume, all those examples were chumras. Misa bidei shamayim. You have to add a chomesh if you eat it by accident. Asurim lizarim. These are chumras. We're trying to show that Truma is stringent. Why would you bring it when we say Masha Enkein b'maiser sheni? We're not saying, which is not the case with Maiser Sheni, because Maiser Sheni is actually more stringent than Truma, because Maiser Sheni is never batul. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that Truma is the one that's stringent, and Maiser Sheni is more lenient, that it's only batul birov. Where am I? V'akatoni v'hei nichse koin. Yeah, but it says though, that's a leniency, that Truma is the property of the kohen, that he can be mekadosh a woman with it, which is not the case by Meiser Sheni. You can't be mekadosh a woman with Meiser Sheni, because the assumption being that Mammon, that Meiser Mammon Gavohi, that Meiser is not yours to spend. So therefore, so that's a leniency, that by Truma, the kohen can be mekadosh, it's his, he can be mekadosh a woman with it, which you can't do by Meiser Sheni. Lo sakadaitech. No, still, get this notion out of your mind that no, what it's saying is that Trume is batul 100 parts to 1. Meiser Sheni is batul birov. Again, don't try to say that Meiser Sheni is never batul afilu, but no. Meiser Sheni is batul birov. The Tani behedje, because we have an explicit braise. Meiser Sheni batul biruba. We have a braise that says explicitly that Meiser Sheni is batul birov. There you have it. And which Meiser Sheni are we talking about? B'Meiser she'ein bo shava pruta. Meiser that is not a shava pruta is going to be batul birov. V'shenichnas to Yerushalayim v'yotza, or if it went into Yerushalayim and then it left Yerushalayim, and if it went into Yerushalayim and left Yerushalayim, so we're saying that then it's there's nothing you can do about it, and therefore it's batul birov as well. Now, so now back to our question. So if what Chizkiah is saying is correct, that you can be mechalel Meiser Sheni that's less than a Shavar Pruta, well then why would it be Batal Barov? Le'avid le L'Chizkiya. Well then why not just do what Chizkiya prescribed? V'niyachol le al Ma'os HaRishonis. And just say, well, be Michalel the less than Shavar Pruta Meiser Sheni on the other Meiser Sheni that you had been Michalel, onto the money that you had been Michalel, used to be Michalel the other Meiser Sheni. The low parik. Well, you hadn't actually, you didn't do that, right? You didn't, meaning that presupposes that you had already been Michalel Meiser Sheni onto other money, but maybe you didn't, and if you didn't, then that's not right. Chizkiya's thing only works if you had already been Mechalel Meiser Sheni onto other money. So you say, okay, fine, so then throw in the less than Shavar Pruta. Okay, fine, great. But if you didn't already do that, well, then you're stuck, and it'll be Batal Birov. V'nesi Meiser de Islay v'nitzrafinu. Now we're going to get to these like different suggestions. Different ways to play around with it. So why don't you? So you have some Meiser Sheni that's less than a Shavar Pruta, and it's mixed into this mixture, and it's less than a Shavar Pruta. So how are you going to be poded? Chizkiya said, well, throw it in with your other Meiser Sheni that you were already poded. But what if you didn't have? What if you weren't already poded Meiser Sheni? So what do? So we're suggesting, well, why don't you find some other Meiser Sheni that you have, and bring it to the mixture, and you don't know which part of the mixture is the less than Shavar Pruta of Meiser Sheni, but you say, look, I'm going to be poded this other Meiser Sheni now. I'm going to add another less than Shavar Pruta that I'm going to throw in together, that I'm going to be poded along with this other Meiser Sheni that I'm being poded now. The problem is the thing is that the less than Pruta, the Pachos Mishvei Pruta of Meiser Sheni is Batal Mida Oraisa, and is only Chayav you're only being poded midirabanan. And the other Meiser Sheni is Meiser Sheni deoraisa. You can't join dirabanan with deoraisa. V'nesi demai. Okay, fine, but why don't you find some Meiser Sheni of demai? Demai, of course, is only midirabanan that you have, right? We say rov ha'me'aretz ma'asrunein. In most cases, you don't have to worry about separating Meiser another time, but midrabanan we say to separate it. So if you have Meiser Sheni of Demai, then it should be able to join together with this less than a Pruta of Meiser Sheni that's mixed together into the mixture. Yes, but the concern is that if you do it with Demai, well, you might end up doing it with actual Meiser Sheni, and that would be a problem. V'neisei shtei prutis v'nechalel alayu Meiser bepruta v'mechza u'nechalel hai Al-Heyach Yisera. Oh my gosh. Chavi, you hear this? The idea here is to basically artificially replicate Chizkiya's scenario from earlier. What did Chizkiya say? Chizkiya said, if you have Meiser Sheni that's less than a Shavar Pruta, well, if you had already been Mechalel Meiser Sheni onto other money, so then just throw in this less than Shavar Pruta with that other money, and be Mechalel on that money, there's probably some extra. So why don't you kind of artificially create that scenario? So meaning, you have a mixture, in the mixture is less than a Shavar Pruta of Meiser Sheni, you want to be Mechalel, you can't be Mechalel on its own because it's less than a Shavar Pruta. So what you could do is, you could bring a Pruta and a half of Meiser Sheni, and then take 2 Prutas, and be Mechalel the Pruta and a half of Meiser Sheni onto the 2 Prutas, just like we said earlier, that you can over Podeh. So then, so we mechalel the pruta and a half onto 2 prutas, and now you have an extra half a pruta. So then that other half of a pruta that you have in the mixture, be mechalel onto the remaining half a pruta. Okay. So again, nechalel layu meiser bepruta v'mechza. I'm sorry, where am I? Dilma asila suyavade. Now, I'm reading this again. V'neisei shtei prutas. Why don't you take 2 prutas? V'nechalel layu meiser bepruta v'mechza, and then get a pruta and a half of meiser sheni, and be mechalel onto 2 prutas, which means that you have an outstanding amount of half a pruta that is kind of free in a sense. And then be mechalel the half a pruta from the mixture onto the remaining half a pruta from the two prutas. Misaver pruta BavaMetzia tafsa shtei prutas. To which Gemara says, well, actually, it wouldn't really work like that. If you have two prutas, like two coins, two prutas, and you have a pruta and a half of Meiser Sheni, what's actually going to end up happening is that one pruta will be mechulal onto, meaning one pruta's worth of Meiser Sheni will be mechulal onto one of the prutas, and then half of the pruta, the other pruta, would be for, meaning the remaining half a pruta's worth of chulin would be outstanding for the other pruta, and you'd basically be stuck with like half a pruta and it wouldn't work. And if you want to join it together with the half a pruta in the mixture, then once again you'd be combining the oraisa and the rabbanon. And if you want to ask about earlier, then how did you have extra earlier? Well, what if you use like a sela? If you use like one, the point is if you use multiple coins, well then we'll kind of divide up the multiple coins. Meaning, so one pruta's worth of Meiser Sheni would be for one pruta, then you have half a pruta's worth for the second pruta. But if you brought like a larger coin, then you would have outstanding, an outstanding balance. But anyways, so back in our Gemara, so let us read this again. Start from the beginning, like 5, 7, 8 lines from the bottom. V'neisei shtei prutas. Why don't you bring two prutas? V'nechalel alayu ma'aser b'pruta BavaMetzia, and be mechalel a pruta and a half's worth onto the two prutas. V'nechalel hai al heach yisera, and then you have an outstanding balance of half a pruta, and use that to be mechalel the half pruta from the mixture. Misavet pruta BavaMetzia tafsa shtei prutas. But do you really think that that's the way it works? That when you have two prutas and you have a pruta and a half's worth of Meiser Sheni, that the two prutas would be poda the pruta and a half of Meiser Sheni? No, that's not the way it would work. Pruta tafsa pruta. One pruta's worth of Meiser Sheni would be mechulal on one of the prutas. Vechatzi pruta lo tafsa. And the outstanding half a pruta would not be able, you can't be mechaled onto the other pruta. It's less than a pruta's worth of Meiser Sheni. And then if you want to join it together with the half a pruta from the mixture, well, again, then you would have the oraisa stuff from the pruta and a half of Meiser Sheni, and the rabbanon from the mixture, which is technically batal barov, and they can't join together. V'neisi Isser, so then why don't you bring a larger coin, right? As I mentioned earlier, right? If you have, however, one larger coin, well then, yeah, you'd be poda the, pruta and a half or whatever onto an Isser, and then you would have an outstanding balance that you could be poda the half a pruta from the mixture. Well, Dilma Asi Lasuye Prutis. Well, if we allow you to use an Isser, then you might end up using Prutis, and that's not allowed. So, okay, so that is why we say just pashit, when you have this half a pruta in the mixture, it's batal barov. Don't try to be podet it or anything like that. So yeah, technically you could come up with different schemes. Meaning, so Chizkiah had said, right. So Chizkiah had said that when you have less than a shavar pruta of Meiser Sheni, you can be podet. So, and the question was, well, if you can be podet, then how can it be batal barov? Right? If it's davar shesh shumatir nafil be'elef lo batu. So we said, well, you can be podet, but practically speaking, you can't. Meaning, if you had already been podet onto like other Meiser Sheni, so then we say, okay, fine. But but otherwise, otherwise it's just not shaykh. All right, fine, and then it's batal barov. Now, v'shenichnas liYerushalayim v'yotza. Okay, we said that another scenario of Meiser Sheni being batal barov is if it was brought into Yerushalayim, but then left Yerushalayim. Ve'amai. Why should it be batal barov? Why don't you just bring it back to Yerushalayim? Why don't you just bring it back to Yerushalayim and eat it in Yerushalayim? Bishanitma. Well, because it became Tame. V'nefarke. Okay, but just be mechalit onto money, right? We're assuming right now that it could be more than a pruta's worth, right? I mean, we're saying that the issue is that it was brought into Yerushalayim and then left Yerushalayim. So you can't eat it, and therefore it's batal barov. Why don't you just bring it back to Yerushalayim and eat it there? Well, because it's tameh. Okay, fine. So then be podeh. Damar Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar minayin the ma'aser sheni shenitma. That how do you know that when you have ma'aser sheni that became tameh, shepodin also afilu b'Yerushalayim, even in Yerushalayim. That meaning, if you bring produce to Yerushalayim, you can't be podeh that produce in Yerushalayim. You can only be podeh the produce outside of Yerushalayim. But if you brought produce to Yerushalayim, it became tameh. Even in Yerushalayim, you can be podeh. So therefore, okay, so you have this produce, this ma'aser sheni, you brought it to Yerushalayim, then it left Yerushalayim. Okay, so he said, why don't you just bring it back to Yerushalayim? Why does it have to be batal barov? Well, because it's tameh. Okay, but even if it's tameh, you can still be podeh. So, where am I? I feel b'Yerushalayim. Shenemar, it says, ki lo suchal seiso, because you can't eat it. Vein seis el achila, seis means to eat. Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, vayiso masos meis ponov. It says by Yosef HaTzadik, that when they all ate together, the end of Parshas Miketz. Elo, bilakoach bekesef meiser sheni. Well, we're talking about these. It was food. It's not meiser sheni itself. It was food that was purchased with money of meiser sheni, and then it left Yerushalayim. But lakoach bekesef meiser nami lefarke. But still, even if it was purchased with money of meiser sheni, still just be podeh, be mechalel. The Tanan is we learned in a Mishnah. Halakoach bekesef meiser sheni, that if you have produce that was purchased with the money from meiser sheni, shenitma, that then became tameh, yipodeh, you can just be podeh. So again, why not just? Why are we saying that it's going to be batal barov? Just be podeh. Rabbi Yehuda, like Rabbi Yehuda Amar, you cover. Or Rabbi Yehuda says you can't be podeh, you have to bury it. You're Rabbi Yehuda, but if it's Rabbi Yehuda, my area yotza. I feel low yotza nami. Then why is it important that it left Yerushalayim? Even if it was still in Yerushalayim, you wouldn't be able to be podeh. You would just have to bury it. Okay, so really we're talking about where it was tahor. Umay yotza. What does mean yotza? Din naful mechitzes. Meaning it's talking about that you had produce that you brought to meiser sheni, that you brought to Yerushalayim, and then the walls of Yerushalayim fell down. And the walls of Yerushalayim fell down. And now basically you're stuck, because I guess there's no more, you're not inside the walls of Yerushalayim anymore, and now you can't eat the produce anymore, so it's batal barov. Ve'omar Rave mechitza lechol deoraisa, mechitzos lechlot derabanan. But didn't Rava say that when we talk about eating the food, the meiser sheni in Yerushalayim, so then the walls of Yerushalayim are deoraisa, but mechitzos lechlot, but the mechitza is that to say that like once it's in Yerushalayim, then once it leaves Yerushalayim, you can't eat it anymore. So that's only midirabanan. V'chigazu derabanan, when the Rabbanan made that gezerah, ki isnu lemechitzis, that's only assuming that there still are the walls. Ki lesnu lemechitzis logazu rabbanan. But if there are no longer any walls, well then the rabbis wouldn't make that their gezerah over there. So when the rabbi said that, that the mechitzas are collate so that you can no longer be podeh, right? So that's only midirabanan. And the din d'Rabbanan was only when the walls were still standing. But if the walls of Yerushalayim somehow fall down, so then they wouldn't make their gezerah anymore, and you should be able to be podeh. So answers the Gemara, lo palug Rabbanan ben isnu l'mechitzas ben lesnu l'mechitzas. No, the rabbis don't make a distinction. It's always the same halacha. Even if the meiser sheni was in Yerushalayim, then the walls fell down, you can't be podeh anymore, therefore it will be batal barov. Okay, fine. Rav Huna bar Yehuda Amar Rav Sheishes Chado Katoni, that it's actually teaching one thing. They aren't separate things. That it's not two separate things. That meiser sheni that's less than a shavuot pruta and meiser sheni that was in Yerushalayim and then left. Rather, it's all one thing. Meiser sheni she'ein bo shavuot pruta shenichnas Yerushalayim v'yotza. That meiser sheni that's less than a shavuot pruta that was brought into Yerushalayim and then left. But Amai, what's the big deal? Just bring it back to Yerushalayim, v'nechle, and eat it in Yerushalayim. Do not for mechitzis that the walls of Yerushalayim fell down. But Nefarke, okay, so then just be poded. Right? Ha'amai Rava, because after all, didn't Rava say mechitza lecho de oraisa, that the walls for eating Meiser Sheni, the walls of Yerushalayim are mida oraisa, but mechitza liklot rabbanon. When we say that once the Meiser Sheni is in Yerushalayim, you can no longer be poded, that's mida rabbanon. V'chigaz rabbanon ki isnu l'mechitzas, because that's no mechitzas lo gaz rabbanon. And this gezer is only when there are the walls, but if they're no longer the walls, then the rabbis don't make the gezer anymore. So we say no, lo palug rabbanon. No, it's a lo plug that no, even if there are no walls, the gezer stands, and you would not be able to be poded, and therefore it's batul pirov. All right. If that's the case, my area ain't bo shavar puta fili bo nami. Well, if that's the case, then what's the point of saying? Like, why is it so important to say that it's less than a shavar puta and it went into and then it went to Yerushalayim and the walls fell down? Who cares if it's shavar puta or not? Even if it was more than a shavar puta, then if the walls fall down, you basically be stuck and it'll be batul pirov. So Lomibaya Kamar. Not only this, but even that. Lomibaya Yeshbo, the Kalton Le Mechitzis. Yeah, obviously, if there is a Shavar Pruta, if it's worth a Shavar Pruta and it was brought to Yerushalayim, and then the walls fell down, you're basically stuck in its batul pirov. Aval Einbo, but if it's less than Shavar Pruta, Eima Lo Kalton Le Mechitzis, I might say, well, we don't consider it like it was actually in Yerushalayim and can no longer be poded, because it's only less than a Shavar Pruta after all. Kamash Milan, that no, still the halacha would apply and it would be batul pirov. Alright. Tana Rabbanan the Rabbis taught, Im Gol Yigal Ish Mimaiso Velo Kol Maiso, that if a person would be poded is Meiser Sheni, but it says Mi Maiso, from his Meiser, meaning not all Meiser Sheni is redeemable. Prat le Meiser Sheni Shem Bo Shavar Pruta, the exclusion of if it's less than a Shavar Pruta, then it is not redeemable. Itmar was stated Rav Ami, Omar says Rav Ami Ein Bo. Rav Asi Amar Ein Bechomsho. So it's machlokas Rav Ami and Rav Asi about, are we talking about where it's less than a pruta of Meiser Sheni, or are we saying that it's that the chomesh is less than a pruta? So for example, if we assume that a chomesh is 25%, so let's say even if it's 4 prutas, so if it's 4 prutas, so then the chomesh would be 1 pruta, which would be a pruta. But anything, so even if it's 3 prutas, let's say, so even though it's more than a pruta of Meiser Sheni, but the chomesh would be, I don't know, I guess 0.75 prutas, which is less than a pruta. So meaning, is it that the Meiser Sheni itself needs to be a pruta, or that its chomesh also needs to be a pruta? So Rav Ami says that it itself needs to be a pruta. Rav Asi Omer Ein B'chomsho, that not just it needs to be a shavar pruta, but it has to be enough so that even its chomesh is a shavar pruta. So it have to be 4 prutas b'etzim. Rabbi Yochanan Omar says Rabbi Yochanan Ein Bo, right? It needs to be a shavar pruta. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Omar Ein B'chomsho. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says no, the chomesh also needs to be a pruta. Meisi of a kasha. Meiser Sheni she'ein bo shavar pruta. A Meiser Sheni that doesn't have a shavar pruta. Dayu sheyomer hu v'chomsho mechul amos harishonos. You know what? It's enough to say, just throw it in with the earlier Meiser Sheni, right? Just like Chizkiah had said earlier, that when it's less than a shavar pruta, so if you had already been poded Meiser Sheni earlier, you could just throw it in with that. So we're saying here, if you have Meiser Sheni that's less than a shavar pruta, dayo, it's enough. You know what? Don't worry about it. Just throw it in with the earlier Meiser Sheni that you had separated. So Bishlam Lamanda Omer Ein B'chomsho Hanu de Katani dayo. Tafagav de bedide isbe kevin de b'chom sheleke leko shapir elamandomer ein bo my dayo kasha. I'll explain it how I understand it. I hope I understand it correctly. Meaning, we're saying that if you have Meiser Sheni that's less than a shavar pruta, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's enough. It's enough if you just throw it in with the Meiser Sheni that you did earlier. Now, if we're talking about where it itself is less, the Meiser Sheni itself is less than a shavar pruta, what do you mean it's enough? I mean, you have no other alternatives. Like, what do you do? Well, what you do is, if you had separated Meiser Sheni earlier, just throw it in with that. It's not like, you know what, don't worry about it, it's enough if you throw it in with that. What do you mean, don't worry about it, it's enough? This is your only option, you have to do this. But if you say that the chomesh needs to be shava pruta, well then you can have a scenario where you have Meiser Sheni that's worth 3 prutas even. But the chomesh would be less than a shava pruta. So then what do? Can you throw it in with the Meiser Sheni that you had already separated for, you had already been poda other Meiser Sheni onto money? Can you just throw this Meiser Sheni as well? Just throw it in without adding any extra money? Just include it with the rest of it? I mean, it's already 3 prutas worth. Can you just include it with the earlier stuff? Yeah, we say, dayo, it's enough. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just throw it in. It's fine. So that makes sense if you said this whole idea of don't worry about it, throw it in, it's fine, makes sense if you're saying that the chomesh also needs to be a pruta. So you can have a scenario where you have something that's 3 prutas worth and you're still saying, throw it in. That's fine. But if you're saying that it itself needs to be pruta, so then if it's less than a shava pruta, what do you mean just throw it in? It's fine. It's the only option you have. We're going to say, do that. Include it with the stuff earlier. Not it's enough, it's okay, you could do that. It's not okay, you have to do that. So that's okay. So it sounds like that would be a support to say that it has to be a chomesh. Even the chomesh needs to be a shava pruta. Wow. All right. Today, my gosh, it's kind of an interesting daf, right? We talked about being poda Meiser Sheni that's less than a shava pruta, and then we got into sugyas of batal barov, of davar sheish lo matir, and afilu be'elef lo batil. We talked to shtickle about mechitzas Yerushalayim and eating Yerushalayim, Meiser Sheni. Some interesting stuff. Peace out. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the chomesh of Meiser Sheni. It's come up so many times, right? I feel like every time I say chomesh, it's like a fifth. It's really a fourth. It's like, so we're going to talk about. I don't know if we've actually ever seen the machlokas inside. So I don't know. We're going to see that tomorrow about what exactly is a fifth and how do we calculate it. Peace out.